Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name is Pete and this is a 5-minute Bags of Action review of Fighting from 2009. In New York City, a young counterfeiter is introduced to the world of underground street fighting by a seasoned scam artist who becomes his manager on the bare-knuckling brawling circuit. This film was directed by Dito Montiel, who's also directed films like Man Down and Empire State. It was written by Montiel and also co-written by Robert Munich, who's mostly written for TV shows like The Cleaner and Gang Related. The cast for Fighting includes Channing Tatum from White House Down and Foxcatcher, Terrence Howard from Iron Man and Four Brothers, Louis Guzman from Traffic and The Taking of Pelham 123, Zulay Henao from True Memoirs of an International Assassin and Grand Isle, Robert Gwenver-Smith from Empire State and No More Mr. Nice Guy, and Brian White, who I recognise from TV show Ray Donovan. In fact, he's done lots of TV, but he was also in Cabin in the Woods. Now, I found Fighting on Netflix as I was in the mood for a boxing or martial arts tournament type movie to just kind of, a bit of a no-brainer, just watch it. And the premise kind of reminded me of the Van Damme movie AWOL, also known as Lionheart, without the leaving the army parts at the start. So I thought a film like that, but with some really good actors in the main parts, could be something interesting and different, as well as just a throwaway popcorn movie. Now, the start of this film is a little odd, and it takes a while to actually get to the fighting of the title. And not in a good set-up kind of way, more in a meandering and not quite focused enough and drawn-out way. It feels like a TV movie. I mean, once you get past the undercooked melodrama, once you get that out of the way, I was ready for some exhilarating fighting action. I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure if I like this film, but the fights are going to start, and surely that will lift it, like in many good B-movies. And I have to say, I was very disappointed. It's a little bit boxing, it's a little bit MMA, it's a little bit wrestling, which sounds really interesting, but it just wasn't exciting. The way the fights are shot and edited with super quick cuts mean you can't really see what's happening. And when you can, it's nowhere near on a par with similar kind of movies. And maybe this kind of premise only works in like a B movie with someone who's maybe their acting isn't as great, but someone who can actually fight. Channing Tatum can handle himself. He was a wrestler in Foxcatcher. He has got physicality. I believe he does have a bit of a wrestling and martial arts background. But I don't know. The fights, it's a film called Fighting, and the fighting isn't great. Now, even in one of the fights, they bring in a martial arts star, Kung Lee, who's a bit like a modern-day Bolo Yeung, and I've seen him in a few films. But even him being one of the opponents can't quite elevate this film to anywhere more than it started. The drama side of this film desperately wants to be poetic and meaningful, and scenes with Terrence Howard and Tatum almost feel like they come from a super earnest stage play. Much of the dialogue feels like it should be poignant, but it just comes across as strange. Every now and then you're like, why did you just say that? The whole thing is almost like Death of a Salesman meets Bloodsport, but with nowhere near the quality of either of those things. Channing Tatum seems to be sleepwalking through this film, and Terrence Howard seems to be trying his best to make something of what unfortunately isn't great material. It still feels like a first draft script that with time could have been crafted into something really good, but it's predictable, and like more than anything else, it's just a bit meh. I have to say I was pretty bored, and if I wasn't recording this, I probably wouldn't have watched it all. And for a film about underground street fighting, one thing you should never be is bored. Yes, maybe it won't be high art, but you at least want to enjoy the fights. But I didn't. Well, the final fight, I have to say, and the actual ending to this movie are really rather good, to the point that I almost thought, should I reevaluate this movie? But then again, if they'd built up the story in a way that matched the finale, or gave you fights that were actually worth watching, this could have been something really special. Instead, this film was really, really forgettable. And if it wasn't for the last 10 minutes, it could have been a zero bagger. But I'm going to give Fighting a slightly lenient 1 bag of action out of 5. But it's a really missed opportunity, and as I say, a pretty boring film. Have you seen Fighting? Do you agree with my very harsh assessment of it? Feel free to comment below or get in touch with us via email, Facebook or on Twitter. We have new episodes coming out weekly, including our full-length podcast. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to get notifications. Bags of Action will always be free, but if you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do that at our Ko-fi page.